Thank you, Mr. Chairman, a ranking member, and members of the subcommittee. Talofa. My home district of American Samoa is an isolated group of islands about 5.5 hours by plane south of Hawaii. It's the only U.S. soil that's south of the equator. And for a small group of islands, we have a tremendous number of our sons and daughters serving and have served in the armed forces. In fact, 10% of our entire population is made up of military veterans. I want to make sure we cover as much as possible for our veterans. Too often in the past, not just in this committee, but throughout the House, legislation has passed Congress that has forgotten American Samoa and the territories. And I'm pleased to see that in this bill, our veterans are eligible for this assistance, just as those in the states are. I have a question for Mr. Gallucci. I appreciate your suggestion in your written testimony that you believe a disabled veterans outreach program and the local veterans employment representatives should be more involved in TAP. Short of repealing the law mandating that contractors teach TAP, how would you envision DVOPs and ELVers being more involved?
Thank you for the question. I do want to clarify one point. We support further integration of DevOps and ELVers in the transition process overall. However, given the scope of the training that Department of Labor needs to deliver, or that Department of Defense needs to deliver to transitioning service members, that the way to go is through contract facilitation. The reason behind this is because through the TAP mandate, in talking to the transition centers at major military installations, they are constantly running classes. 5 days a week, 48 to 50 weeks a year. So the problem is if you had DevOps and ELVers still facilitating the training, they would have absolutely no time to work in their communities to identify job opportunities or work face-to-face with veterans who require their services. That being said, when we spoke to some of those responsible for transition management, their concern was that the contract facilitators didn't necessarily integrate local resources into the transition assistance program at all. So there wasn't really an opportunity for an ELVer or a DevOps to come in and brief military personnel or make themselves available. These may have been isolated to a handful of military installations, but it's something that we would want to look into to make sure that we're not losing that community connection that Colonel Sutherland stressed is so important.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to express my appreciation to the entire panel. Colonel Sutherland, Dixon Center, I'd like to thank you for sharing in your written statement the heartwarming story of the U.S. Marine Corps veteran named Gary, which illustrates the efforts and positive effects that local nonprofits can provide to service members. How can Congress and the administration better assist nonprofits connect to service members in need?
Yes, ma'am. It's a great question. I appreciate you asking, and I'm happy to give you a more detailed answer as well. What's taken place recently with the change in instructions from Secretary Hagel for access for VSOs needs to go further. It needs to broaden the definition of those that can have access. With the number of nonprofits that exist, every single one of them does a good job. But making sure that locally, I fought for my family, my neighbor, and my community, and I come home to my family, my neighbor, and my community. And so encouraging their participation through expanding the efforts of SSVF, expanding the efforts of the supportive services, veteran families, as well as HVRAP and other efforts to locally connect those services and expanding the definition of in your community of asking other nonprofits just be inclusive. Easter Seals is an organization that's been inclusive of veterans since World War II and provides direct services to 165,000 people. We don't market, we don't spend a lot of money marketing, but so it's build public awareness, encourage community involvement, and promote community-based services. And I'm happy to give you a much more expansive answer as well. and we appreciate our American Samoans that have fought with us as well. I had a large number in my brigade combat team.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.